A hairless harpy, a bog witch, Asajj Ventress. I love her. I named my lizard after her in Morrowind.
Aye.
She's been around for quite a while now, premiering back in 2003 in the real famous Clone Wars micro-series that everybody seems to love now. You see, I was watching the micro-series the other day, in between editing Bo Katan Part 2, and I thought to myself, you sure do hate Bo Katan. But this Ventress chick, she's going places. You should talk about her for a while. So, to keep myself from blowing my own brains out in Minecraft, I am here now to tell you all about one of my favorite characters, and in fact, the very one that brought me into the Star Wars community when I was a wee little boy. Around about 2 decades ago, I had no idea what a Star Wars was, and not all the prequels were even released yet. Lucasfilm knew that little boys like me had the attention span of an ant that's dead. So between the release of Episode 2 and 3, Cartoon Network aired these quick little animated bumpers in between regular programming. Why did they do this? To remind wee little men like me that a Star Wars was a thing, and that we should go see that new movie when it comes out. Do you remember that other one you saw, maybe? You're gonna like the other one even more, please give us your money. Now, I don't know, I imagine that these were probably aired all the time on Cartoon Network, but I, you see, am a Canadian, and I didn't have access to Cartoon Network and was only able to see these shorts on very rare occasions on a poor man's Cartoon Network known as Teletoon. When the cartoon gods graced my home with an airing of this microseries, it was usually around New Year's Eve, you best be believing that I was glued to the tube from beginning to end. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot of devotion, but you gotta understand that a lot of these shorts are less than 5 minutes long. Each one would be sandwiched by 5 to 7 minutes of commercials, breaking up the narrative and driving my parents insane. You know, I bet these commercials started to blend together with the show after a while. I wouldn't be surprised if my mom still believes that Mr. Clean isn't part of Star Wars continuity. But forget about my parents and me and Mr. Clean for a second, because we're here to talk about Asajj Ventress. My favorite part of this microseries has always been when Ventress shows up and just goes sicko mode on an arena full of Ben 10 alien OCs. When she popped into my tube's frame, she blew my little boy brain. Up until I saw her on that screen, I wasn't really a Star Wars fan at all. It's my nostalgia for this character that makes it so difficult for me to accept how she ends up. You see, since nobody's ever really gone, Asajj actually comes back a couple times in Legends continuity. We're not really going to be talking about new Disney continuity, and I'm not familiar with any of those novels. So it's not that she's not good in new continuity, I'm sure that she is, but I'm just going to be talking about Legends material and the Dark Disciple novel. I'm going to break up her story into 3 different sections. You can easily tell the 3 Ventress categories apart by her tattoos. Some of you may have already noticed that Ventress has gone through various tattoo changes and multiple redesigns over the years. It'll be the differences between these designs that I am going to use to help differentiate between the 3 eras. Her Witch era, her Tick era, and her Advisor era, respectively. If you guys don't notice the tattoos, you can check for other things too. Her ship, the design of her lightsabers, how Palpatine's teeth look. There's so many, oh my god. Ventress, as I said before, debuted in the Clone Wars microseries. Her design is based off concept art for Episode 2, which, in case you didn't know, is a long tried and true tradition to just create new characters for the comics and the novels, and even the TV shows, based on concept art that didn't make it into the films. This initial design of Ventress gets a lot of homages and variant covers on comics, but she lasted the least amount of time. When she first shows up in the microseries, she's a complete mystery. Just a badass, pale lady in a cloak that jumps into a huge arena full of gladiators and makes quick work of them. I'm not sure why Ventress is there at the Colosseum in the first place, if she heard Dooku was coming and she wanted to impress a Sith Lord, or if she had no idea. She thought she was going to be helping someone move, you know, make some extra cash on the side, using her Force powers, and it was just a coincidence that she thought she was a Sith Lord, and then there's an actual Sith there. But regardless of why she's there, and she kicks some ass, she impresses Dooku. Dooku does this cool little eye thing, he's like, oh, look at this one, keep my eye out on that one, ooh. And after she wins, he does the classic slow clap. Then he floats down to her. Never see him do that again. He pays her some compliments, and she says,
The dark side is strong in me, for I am Sith.
And he goes, whoa, 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 actually, I am a Sith, and you're not a Sith. And she said, you're old, and I hate you. And so he did the reasonable thing.
Gotcha, bitch!
It would not be so easy to defeat a Sith.
So finish it.
We have other plans. Have you been watching, Master?
Yes, good. Oh, fuck! So anyway, Dooku picks up Palpatine, who even though he's a hologram seems to have chipped his tooth on the way down. I don't understand, but whatever. And after a brief talk with Ventress, they decide that they're gonna send her off on a secret mission. The mission is to kill Anakin Skywalker, who, unbeknownst to Ventress, is the Chosen One, and Sidious definitely knows this and is just sending her off to die. Dooku is far less aware of the threat that Anakin poses, not only to Ventress, but to him and his future plans, but that's neither here nor there. On the way out, Dooku decides to give Ventress a little gift. Since he destroyed her lightsabers during their duel, he gives her these cool, curved ones, much like his own. The interesting thing about this is that if you played this game Star Wars Bounty Hunter, that was released a little bit before this miniseries came out, you might recognize these lightsabers. In that game, you play as Jango Fett hunting down Dooku's last apprentice, his apprentice when Dooku was a Jedi. You see, she's a little crazy, she turned to the dark side, and near the end of the game, when Jango's about to take her down, Dooku snaps her neck. Now, I don't know if after that, he planned on giving these lightsabers to the next pale goth chick that walked into his life, or if that just so happened to be the way things went. But anyway, he gives them to her, and it's cool because we know that even if she survives this fight with Anakin, she's probably not safe working under Dooku. So, Ventress goes off on her way in her cool fin-shaped ship to screw with Anakin's mind. After a long, drawn-out space chase where she's just basically fucking with him the whole time, she leads him to Yavin 4. And they have, in my mind, what is probably one of the top 5 best lightsaber battles out there. I don't care if it's animated, I don't care if some of the frames are Dragon Ball Z-esque. Before that, though, we learn one more thing about her, which is that she has a real thing for hurting people. She doesn't just look like a Cenobite, she acts like a Hellraiser demon too.
Trooper, are you out?
Freaky. She explodes his droid and his ship, the cool one that we've been seeing throughout the entire show so far, and then just goes ham. This lightsaber battle is easily up there in my top 5, including the live action stuff. This is so good. When those raindrops hit her lightsaber, all fucking bets are off, dude. Like when the steam goes from the rain and the rain goes that was so cool. They seem evenly matched for most of the fight, but unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, and Anakin gains the edge by embracing the dark side in a really cool scene. Anakin just goes ham on Ventress, wailing just like Luke does on him decades later. Asajj is taken aback, she wasn't expecting this at all. Something we have seen that she has done in the past, and this is probably a pattern for her. It flashes in between his attacks and Anakin's mentor figures, looking disappointed, just disapproving of his barbarism, with the scene finally finishing with the cliff collapsing under the weight of Anakin's blows. And within the context of the 03 series, this is where she dies. She doesn't come back. In the second part of the series, you might think that she makes a return, but nope, it's all Grievous all the time, baby. It was going to be Dirge, but, you know, Lucas, I think, if I remember correctly, stepped in and said, no, Grievous is a more phlegmy character than we've had before. If we can get him coughing, then I know the movie will sell. Interestingly enough, there's actually a comic that uses this same design for Ventress, where her and Dirge are pitted against Grievous in a big battle over who should lead the droid army. Fun fact, this is the same comic book that has Yoda carrying a giant Gatling gun into battle, which is just lovely. So you can look at these last moments of Ventress here in one of 3 ways. You could see it as this is the same character as comics Ventress, you know, they're supposed to share a little bit of the same continuity, or she dies, which I believe is meant to be left open to interpretation. You don't see her die, and it's not a Disney movie, not yet anyway. So her falling does not expressly mean that she's dead. Or you could look at it the funnest way, which is my way, which is that when she fell down that big old hole, she landed right on her throat, so it fucked up her voice, which wasn't in great condition to begin with.
So finish it.
She dusted herself off, said, "I'm done with all this," and decided to look for new work, possibly got into politics, and actually became an emperor's advisor to an emperor on like a Machu Picchu planet, and she turned into Yzma, and that's my headcanon, is that this is just Yzma Ventress. You don't have to like that, you can think that's stupid, but look at how similar they look. Tell me their voices aren't kinda similar with the nature of their voices. That totally could exist. Maybe she's just Yzma. You don't fucking know. Prove I'm wrong. Prove I'm wrong. Try it, please. So after her advisor era, Tick era Ventress first appears in Republic number 51. You can tell this was made before the 08 series because the Clone Wars logo is the same one that's on the 03 series before they changed it. Just like with the miniseries, she comes in with a big bang. We get to see that she actually has some witchy powers, which will be expanded upon in further iterations of her character. She raises a bunch of zombies from the dead that are Gungan zombies because that's really fun. And she really puts Obi-Wan and Anakin through the paces. Her partnership with Dirge is also cemented here. Ventress before the 08 series was sort of a package deal with Dirge. So why does she have the ticks, I hear you probably ask? Well, to celebrate all the warlords that she killed on her planet of Ratatak. Because in this iteration, she's from Ratatak, which I believe is where the Colosseum was in the 03 series. The new backstory that she is given is that the planet was ruled by a bunch of despots, there was warlords roaming everywhere, and Ventress, a little girl down on her luck, ends up getting taken in by a Jedi Master that crash-landed there. He trains her in the ways of the Force, and they travel along the planet, righting wrongs a la Xena and Gabrielle. Everything was going great for her until her master was killed in front of her. Which, you know, never a great thing for development. So anyway, she has another bangarang moment and makes short work of the warlords on the planet and takes over completely. She becomes the new leader of the entire planet, which again, in Star Wars is more like a country than it is a planet, but that's a whole country she took over, so that's a pretty big deal. It adds a new layer to her character. You know, we get to see that she knows some Sith techniques. I'm assuming that Dooku taught her those after she came back from not killing Anakin. I mean, why wouldn't you reward her? Regardless, when she makes a return here in Republic 51, it's a big thing. She's chopping off Jedi Masters' heads, full stop. Just like in the micro-series, she's a predator, and like a cat with a mouse, she really enjoys playing with her food before making the kill. She also revels in being really evil, but weirdly enough, this version of Ventress doesn't see herself that way. We'll get into that more later. Throughout the Republic comics, she and Dirge are the main antagonists, up until the very end. As soon as they show up, they take over the whole thing, and they became fan favorites very quickly. Not that they weren't already with the 03 series, but this just further cemented that. And though Advisor Ventress is my favorite Ventress, I actually have a statue of this version of her. I thought I would show it to you because like all great Star Wars YouTubers, it's important to show my statues off and flex about the money I've wasted. So anyways, her and Dirge make reoccurring appearances throughout the rest of the series. Oddly enough though, she has more of a dynamic with Obi-Wan in this series than she does with Anakin. They were doing weird shit with Anakin in this one. The Republic version of Anakin is way more like a school shooter than any other version of Anakin, so I can understand why they wouldn't want to link Ventress and him up. In this series, they give her and Obi-Wan more of a dynamic. Sometimes it's cringy, you know, sometimes the dialogue doesn't really fit, but this will be another thing that the 08 series will go on to expand, and a lot of times it can be fun. Tick Ventress thinks that all Jedi are arrogant, which is ironic because she is so fucking arrogant. Justifiably so, but still. If you want any proof of how tough this version of Ventress is, at one point she's stabbed with a bunch of glass, just a bunch of it, and has all of her memories pulled away by a Jedi chick that is nigh immortal. This immortal Jedi tries to dunk on her, and with a little help from Dirge, Ventress takes her out. Just one of many Jedi Masters that Ventress will kill. She's a super powerful Dark Jedi, and is definitely a contender. If she had been born in any other era during Star Wars, and Sidious wasn't around twirling his evil mustache, chipping his gross teeth, then I'm sure Ventress would have been taken on as a Sith apprentice, but that's just not what happens. Whenever Ventress shows up, she's oftentimes shown trying to recruit other Jedi, with the implication being that Dooku has her scouting for other Dark Jedi to bring to his cause. She tries this with Obi-Wan once, with Obi-Wan rejecting her offer. Despite that, she leaves him alive She says it's because Dooku said to do that, but I feel like Dooku would definitely know Obi-Wan would not be down, so maybe Ventress just didn't want to kill him. I'm not the only one thinking that way, though, because even after she's chopped off Jedi Masters' heads and killed immortal beings, Obi-Wan still has a soft spot for her. For a sizable chunk of this comics run, Obi-Wan takes a page out of Luke's book and is all, I have to save you. So by this point in Star Wars history, Ventress has very much proven herself as a force to be reckoned with. Her and Dirge are killing Jedi Masters, Immortals, whatever you want, whatever you need killed, she'll kill them. It is notable that during the same run of comics, another background character has been given some attention too. Quinlan Vos, who also becomes a fan favorite. Him and Ventress have very little interaction in here and aren't implied to have anything romantic going on. The fact that they both get character development in such close proximity to one another is probably one of the main reasons that people associated them together, which is gonna come up again later. In a weird twist, we get to see more of her sadomasochistic nature when she abducts Obi-Wan off-panel. She takes him to her BDSM dungeon on Rat Attack to, I guess, convert him to the dark side, and to stop him from escaping, she puts on what she calls a Sith torture mask, but is very obviously just a luchador mask that is 2 sizes too small for his head. Along with this, she's feeding him what she calls muscle maggots, which I don't know what that's about. Plot twist! Obi-Wan escapes! Whoa, who would have thought? While running around Ventress's domain, Obi-Wan and a Proto-Captain Rex character called Alpha run into a shark-looking dude that, as it turns out, is actually the guy that ruined Asajj's life all those years ago. He ends up tagging along as they all try to escape, but he doesn't make it very far. He is way too confident running around this building acting like he's gonna take charge again. Like, you're just a shark guy, man. She can move shit with her mind. What are you gonna do, chomp her? I don't think so. You didn't do it the first time. Obi-Wan and Ventress are so fucking petty in this comic. Like, once he escapes, he's like, I feel sorry for you, Ventress. You didn't get the chance to learn properly. I feel sorry for you. And she's like, no, I feel sorry for you. You're the one who I feel sorry for. I'm the only real Jedi Master alive. You're all fakers. You're fakers. And he goes, oh yeah, well, here's a rancor, you bitch. And she goes, thanks, I love rancors, you fucking cunt. Which is very night sistery of her, which again will become part of her character later on, but in case I didn't mention it before, she's not a night sister in these comics, she's just really witchy. Obi-Wan steals her master's lightsaber and brings it back to the Jedi Temple, which leaves her in tears, and it's just really hard to look at, man. Like, Obi-Wan, what did you achieve by doing that, you dick? Her and Obi-Wan's story doesn't actually end in the Republic comics. They finish off in this short miniseries called Obsession, which I saw advertised everywhere as a child, and I didn't even know it was Ventress. I was a stupid little boy, and I thought that the cloak she has over her head was red hair, and I was actually pissed because I was like, no, it should be Ventress. Why can't Ventress come back? Who's this? Palpatine's daughter? No, that's a stupid idea. They wouldn't do that. The ads were like, are you ready for Revenge of the Sith?
Yes.
Oh, well, you're not gonna get any of it. You won't understand a fucking thing about it if you don't read Obsession. And so I did. And I gotta say, it's pretty fucking wild. It's either near the end of the Republic run or the beginning of the Obsession run, where Asajj just travels to Coruscant, which I think is insane. That has to be so fucking risky. Who signed off on that decision, or is she just going about things on her own? I don't know. Like, do those lightsabers Dooku gave her have a tracker on them? What is he doing to stop this? Nothing, apparently, because she shows up there, spying on Anakin while he's watching a hologram of Padme, and she's like, oh, they're doing it. Oh, I'll just kill her to fuck with him, which is very Ventress of her. She doesn't just do it, though. Like, she doesn't just ruin his life by telling the Jedi Order that they're doing it. Instead, she finds Anakin on Coruscant, like the homeworld. This is like if Churchill just hung out in Germany and went to Hitler's office and was like, hey, just so you know, you're gonna lose. I know that you probably have a wife or whatever, and I'm gonna kill her. School shooter Anakin, surprise, surprise, does not take well to this and goes full edgelord on her. He wraps her up in wires, she makes an my God face, and then he throws her to the bottom of Coruscant, I'm sure. Like, all the way down to 1313 is where she ended up. And the comic ends, and you're just left assuming that Anakin doesn't tell anyone, which makes sense, because, like, how do you justify any of that? But as it turns out, he did tell the council, just not the part about Padme, and they're all like, oh, okay, well, that's good enough for me. Even though they didn't find a body, like, they just assumed that she's dead, and, like, people are like, maybe she's not. Obi-Wan's going around going, maybe she's not. Maybe we should look into this. She's, like, killed a lot of Jedi Masters, and she's also on a lot of comics covers, so we should look into this. And Mace Windu's like, nah, man. She's totally dead. We didn't find a body, but I'm sure that she's dead. Like, okay, I trust you, Mace. You always make the best decisions. Despite Mace Windu and the Jedi Council's bullshit, Obi-Wan is very invested in finding Asajj's location. He has zero patience for the people that he's trying to get information from, too. It's not really good in terms of characterization. Like, I know Obi-Wan feels for Ventress, which is weird because she tortured him a lot and, like, killed a lot of his friends and also enjoyed killing a lot of his friends. But regardless, don't think about that. Just think about how Obi-Wan has to save her. He needs to save her for some reason. Like, wouldn't it make more sense for Anakin to be the guy that wants to redeem her? Like, maybe Anakin sees a bit of himself in her, and he's like, if I can save her, then maybe I can turn away. But no, it's Obi-Wan. It's posh Obi-Wan, who's usually cordial and witty, and is known as the Negotiator. So, the Negotiator just busts into buildings, starts chopping arms off and taking names, looking for Ventress. He does this while he's on leave, by the way. Get a hobby, Obi-Wan. Getting a lead, he travels to Padme's house because he knows that's where Anakin's gonna be, because apparently just everyone knows in this timeline. He's like, Anakin, I need your help, and Anakin goes, no, I'm getting my dick wet and I don't want to come with you, and then Padme goes, I'm on my period, and so he leaves with Obi-Wan. They go to a ship, which is just, it's a trap. They fall into a trap. Anakin is roasting Obi-Wan over it the entire time, and justifiably so. Dirge attacks, his face is finally revealed, it's a really big deal, and then he gets thrown into the sun by Anakin. One thing that I really like about this comic, though, is that it just really builds Ventress up. She's already shown to be incredibly powerful. I know I keep saying that, but it's true. She's really neat, and I really like her, and one of the clues that Obi-Wan is following is that at one point, she was worshipped as a goddess. The pale goddess of death on what I think is a planet called Mok. In a very Rian Johnson-like subversion of expectations, it's Anakin that takes out Dirge, while Obi-Wan will be synced up with Ventress's fate. Well, I mean, both of them are, but Obi-Wan is mostly a Ventress kind of guy. Anakin and Obi-Wan then head to Boz Pity to look for her, which, ironically enough, is the same planet that Quinlan Vos has been assigned to. Hilariously, though, we get cameos from nearly every Jedi in the Clone Wars that was created during this time, except for Vos. Just no Vos. Now, with a bunch of fellow Jedi on board, I think unnecessarily, Anakin is given this Star Destroyer's controls and is told to take an insane chance that could definitely kill every Jedi and, like, in one foul swoop, win the war for Dooku and fuck up Palpatine's plans. But it's fine. They landed it. It's fine. I don't know. The writing in this comic is weird. So they land, and all the Jedi get out of the ship, and as it turns out, everyone survived. The only guy that got hurt was Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's wrist is hurt, but that's about it. Suddenly, Grievous attacks. He starts going for them. Why did they land right next to Grievous? How did that even happen? I guess it was the will of the Force, definitely not the will of the writers, only being given so many issues to finish this series. Another big plot contrivance is that Obi-Wan just wanders off. The way that it's depicted with the artwork, it looks like Obi-Wan can definitely hear all of his friends being attacked, some of them being killed by Grievous, and he's just like, I gotta go find my girlfriend. So Obi-Wan wanders off, and really nearby, once again, super close to where this ship crash landed, Obi-Wan finds Ventress, covered in tubes. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, tubes. Tubes. What? Tubes. She's in a tank with tubes. Obi-Wan is horrified by these tubes. Wow. I assume that this is because they were gonna make her, like, a cyborg. They were gonna change her design a little bit. And either the editors or, like, Lucas was telling them, no, just keep her the same. I like her the same. I don't know if the artist and the writer just weren't on the same page, because she's definitely written to sound like she's this gross amalgamation of cyborg parts. Apparently, part of Ventress's cybernetic upgrades is that she has super hearing, because even in the tank, seemingly passed out, she hears that Obi-Wan's there. She bursts out of the slimy Bacta tank and claims that she has bested every enemy she has ever faced, except for Kenobi? Which just isn't true. Anakin's outside. Like, you're only in the tank because Anakin bested you twice, and yet you're saying this to Kenobi. I I think that she has a crush on Kenobi, because she's just flattering him at this point. Either that, or she must have hit her head on the way down to level 1313. So she goes after them, it's cool, her eyes glowy, but then Grievous goes against Mace, and the fight doesn't go super well, so Dooku's like, we're pulling out of here, this is bullshit. So he takes his toys and he tries to run away, and Ventress is not very far from him. Again, I think this is probably just the writer and the artist being on different pages, but like some of Dooku's guys ask Dooku, like, should we just go get Ventress first? Because we probably spent a lot of money saving her life, right? Like, how did we extract her from Coruscant? I don't know, maybe she wandered off of Coruscant, but they still went to the trouble of throwing her in the tank and getting her all those tubes. So what he decides here is really weird. When she's running after them, like, and is probably gonna make it, Dooku has her shot. What the fuck?
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
What's really weird about this ending, more so than all the other weirdness in this comic, is that Obi-Wan's cradling her, mourning the fact that he never got to hook up with her before she died. And she tries to fucking stab him, because this bitch never knows when to quit, and then Anakin slices her on the back, where I don't know, they don't show it. Once again, the artist is just doing his own thing. And as she's dying in Obi-Wan's arms, she goes, oh, maybe you were right about me, Obi-Wan. Maybe you were right the entire time. And it's like, were you not just trying to stab him in the ribs 5 seconds ago? 5 seconds ago. If you could have done it, you woulda. And he'd be the one laying there, and you wouldn't be like holding him gently. You'd be laughing like, oh, stabbed you good. So Obi-Wan, like a creepy creeper, collects her body so he can give her a funeral when they get back to Coruscant, because of course she would want to be buried on Coruscant. That's where she had so many good memories. In a big plot twist, whoa, another one, she's not dead. Again, she's not dead. She was using a Sith meditation technique. I'm assuming that she learned on the same day that Dooku gave her the Sith mask. Just pretending to be dead is what she was doing. And the ship is full of clones. Just keep that in mind. It's a military ship. There's injured people on there that were supposed to get taken to the hospital. But Ventress, in her infinite wisdom, goes, I'm done with all this. So she mind tricks the people that are piloting the ship and says that she wants to go somewhere far away from here. So, I don't know, I guess everyone on the ship died of gangrene probably. And then Ventress flies off into the night to never be seen again, because the next time Ventress appears in something, she's redesigned once more, and that's her witch era. And we'll talk about that, along with a couple more novel versions of Tick era Ventress in the next video. I know this one was pretty rambly, definitely not as put together as my Bo Katan video, but like I said, this was just for fun. This is just to throw something up in between Bo Katan parts so that you guys get some content, and so that I don't go crazy. Thanks everyone that's here. I have 300 subscribers now, that's a big deal to me, so thank you. I hope you're gonna stick around for the next Bo Katan video, because I have a lot to say. A lot of the comments on the last video had their own opinions, and I love to see that. Please share with me what you think. I'm not the kind of guy that won't admit when he's wrong, so if I got anything wrong here, I'll make sure to mention it in the description and in the comments. So feel free to call me out on that, and yeah, stay tuned, because the next Ventress episode is a whole something in its own right, and the Bo Katan video, I'm very proud of it. So yeah, that's enough of this. I'll stop talking. Thank you for coming and being here, and bye.
Indeed.